Hello guys, how are all of you beautiful people? Hope all of you are doing fine. And yes, this is the next part of Multiverse of Marvel and also the end of Season 1 of Multiverse of Marvel. When a cinephile and an otaku /weeb travels through dimensions and gets a system which can only be described as overpowered but comes with restrictions. At first he was overjoyed with the system but soon realizes that he is in a very dangerous world where his life was at risk all the time. So without any delay, let's start the video. As Banner and other were talking, another Quinjet landed after few minutes. Out came Coulson and another person who John was very much looking forward to meet. Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. John's eye light up when he saw Steve and happily went to greet him. "Hello Captain. It's my honor to meet you," John said to Steve. "Hello John. It's nice to meet you. They updated me on you. Thanks for using the money only for good of the people and helping the people of the other world. I still can't understand the theory of parallel universe, but nonetheless your work is commendable," Steve said. John felt shy about it but was happy that Steve had a good impression of him, unlike Tony. John could already feel from his words that he wasn't a fan of Tony for his past. "Hello Steve, I am Diana." Diana approached and introduced herself to Steve. Steve too had seen the movies before coming. Steve felt his story and the Steve in Diana's story had so many similarities. He felt it was the destiny of both of them to die in a plane crash even in other universes. "Hello Diana, I am sorry for your loss," Steve said while making a handshake with Diana. Diana had approached Steve because she too felt Steve's story in this world and the Steve's story in her world had similarities. "It's fine, it's been over a century almost," Diana replied with a smile. "Oh yes, I am sorry I forgot you are the daughter of Zeus." Steve smiled stiffly as he realized that she was close to an immortal and comes from legends. Banner too approached and exchanged pleasantries. Natasha, who just came from inside, said, "Coulson, they need you on the bridge. Did you get both of them?" "Yes. I have contacted both. They will join soon." Coulson left after saying that. Did Coulson ask for signing the trading cards yet? "Trading cards?" Steve said, little surprised. "It's vintage. He is proud of it. He is a big fan of you, Captain," Natasha said. "Gentleman and lady, you might want to step inside. It's going to get hard to breathe," Natasha said. "Breathe? It's a submarine," Steve said. "No Steve, this whole ship is going to fly," John said. Natasha looked at John as he said that but didn't say anything. They all went to see the rotators revolving fast. "We should go inside. Not everybody can survive the high altitude like Diana," John said as the ship was gaining altitude slowly. They all went inside. John went and sat in a chair while looking at all the agents working and handling things. Banner, Diana and Steve were moving around trying to take all the things in. The whole facility was of high technology, so all of them were awestruck by it. After the helicarrier went high up in the air and vanished, Fury came as all sat at the round table. Fury asked John, "Is Hal Jordan going to come? We might need him." "I am not sure. I am not even sure if the Guardians have been sent here too along with Hal. He hasn't contacted me. Maybe he has already arrived and is in the universe somewhere. It's not like only Earth has gateways from otherworldly beings to enter," John said. Fury now almost has total belief of whatever story John weaved in movies and even for Naruto world, as he has seen Bruce, Diana and the Naruto, and he had read various reports from agents who have gone to their world. Dr. Banner, thanks for coming. We will need your help in locating the Tesseract. Natasha, take him to his lab. Fury turned and said to Banner. Thanks for asking nicely. I would need all the available spectrometers in the world calibrated to find weak gamma rays, Banner said. Come with me, Doc, we have all the toys. Natasha said as he led Banner to his laboratory. After an hour of searching from all face recognition software, S.H.I.E.L.D. finally got a hit on Loki. Sir, he is in Stuttgart, Germany, and he isn't exactly hiding. An agent said. Captain and Diana, you are up. Diana too was sent as she was powerful enough to catch Loki. Stuttgart, Germany. The story for Loki progressed as it should have. Loki went to Germany with Clint to steal iridium to stabilize the portal. As Loki himself wanted to get caught to destabilize the super-powered people, he made a grand scene as he ordered a bunch of civilians in the square to kneel. As Loki was going to kill an old man in order to show his dominance, the laser beam was reflected back by the shield of Captain America to Loki again. You know, the last time I was in Germany and saw a man standing above everybody else, we ended up disagreeing. Steve said. The soldier. The man out of time. Loki. I am not the only one out of time. Captain replied. As he said that, Loki saw a shining rope fell onto him from above and tightening him immediately. Loki, who just got up, was bounded again by the lasso of truth. What is this? Loki was surprised but then remembered. The lasso of truth. We meet again, Loki. Diana said. Hello Diana, we meet again. Must have been exhausting, watching humanity tear each other apart for so many years. Join me. We can rule them together. These humans don't deserve their freedom. Loki said with a smile. Diana instantly tightened the rope on Loki. You speak too much, Loki. We are not gods. I have said before. Diana said. The people who were watching nearby were surprised after seeing her. Many people might not have recognized Captain America, as him being alive isn't still out in the open. But the iconic lasso of truth and that get-up was easily recognized by many as they have watched Wonder Woman in movies. Most of them know that Batman is real, and many speculated that Wonder Woman might be real as there was a connection between Batman and Wonder Woman shown in the movie. Many people whispered, isn't Wonder Woman just a mythological character? How the hell is she real? I have no idea. If Batman and Wonder Woman are real, then does it mean Green Lantern is also real? Oh god, that means aliens are also real. Many whispered as such in the background. Steve could hear their whispers but couldn't say anything. As Loki was being held up, there was a loud music of AC/DC being played from the Quinjet of Natasha, which was hovering above while directing the machine gun towards Loki. Natasha knew instantly who has hacked into their communications. Iron Man came flying by and landed in front of Loki while pointing his hand thruster towards Loki, and silently a slim and sleek black-colored jet came flying by pointing its guns and missiles at Loki. Batman too has come with his Batwing. Make your move, Reindeer Games. Loki knew he would have to surrender now. He lifted his hands to surrender. Diana pulled him by the lasso to the Quinjet. After that they left. Diana went with Bruce in his Batwing while Tony, Loki and Steve were in the Quinjet. As the two planes were flying, there was sudden thunder all around. Diana, who was in Batwing, saw this and said, Thor is here. And before anybody could do anything, Thor landed on Quinjet and took Loki away immediately. We need to stop Thor in doing anything wrong. Batman said. The Batwing flew down where Thor took away Loki, only to see Loki standing there with a smile while Iron Man and Thor were facing each other few meters down the small hill. Diana took her lasso out and bounded Loki again. "Come on, did you see me escaping? I didn't even run away," Loki said. "Diana, keep him here, I will stop them from doing anything stupid," Bruce said and went down gliding. As he went down, both have already started fighting. Batman roared. "Hey! That's enough. Have you both had your fill? I am here to take away Loki to Asgard and face justice," Thor said. "Really? How will you take him back to Asgard? I heard John say that your Rainbow Bridge was destroyed. How will you get back?" Batman said. Thor, who heard this, suddenly stiffened. He indeed have no way to take back Loki. Odin used dark magic to send him to Earth as the bridge was destroyed. "I don't know, but I intend to take him back," Thor insisted. "We never said that you can't take him back to Asgard. Until then we can keep Loki in our custody and find out what he really wants to do. Is that acceptable?" Batman said. "Fine." Thor, who didn't know how to refute him, agreed. "Damn Bruce, you really are a manipulator," Tony murmured. As they were talking, Steve parachuted down and saw everything was in order. He was relieved. "Hello, Mr. Wayne." "Captain." They both greeted each other. "Let's go back, everyone. We have places to be and people to catch," Bruce continued. They all went back to their plane, and this time Thor too joined as he entered the Quinjet. Thor was happy to see Diana, an old comrade, again. They soon traveled back to the helicarrier. Loki was brought down the Quinjet by many agents as guards so that Loki didn't try any funny moves. Even Diana was following him. John, who got to know all this from Bridge, got up and went near the laboratory of Banner to see Loki up close. John in his previous life was a great fan of Loki. Mostly because he was portrayed by a great actor, and even at the end he redeemed himself by his sacrifice. During the confrontation against Kang, he took the right decision. Even though he failed at the end to stop the emergence of Kang in multiple timelines, but at least he took the right decision. John always believed at the end Asgardians had a hard life, especially for Thor and Loki. He wanted to change their destiny even though he wasn't sure how, but he would try at least. After a couple of minutes, John saw Loki passing by the laboratory and smiling at Banner. John got up and stopped in front of Loki after getting in the corridor. The agents instantly pointed their guns at John as they weren't sure why John stopped them. Fury, who saw this, was also surprised by this sudden behavior by John. "Mother ****. What is he doing?" Fury almost ran to the corridor to stop any bad thing from happening. "The last time I said I don't like guns being pointed at me, it didn't turn out well for many people." John smirked, and that almost brought chills down the spines of the agents. Fury, who almost came running, shouted, "Agents, lower your weapons." "What the hell are you doing, John?" "It's fine, Fury, I want to talk with Loki Laufeyson here," John replied. Loki, who was watching everything with a smile, suddenly stiffened when he heard his full name. The next second he again put up a smile in his face. "Oh, the prophet is here. The person who is said to direct the people from other worlds to this world. Clint told me about you. The creator of motion pictures." Fury, who listened to this, finally couldn't stop himself and said, "John, let me take him to the prison, then we can let Diana use the lasso of truth to find what he wants to do. Then you can ask all what you want to." John looked at Loki for a few seconds and finally said, "Fine. Take him to the cage. After Loki was thrown to the cage, John came with fury to see Loki up close and ask, "Hello Loki, I guess you know my name from Clint. I am flattered that I am mentioned." John said, "So what are you here for? To tell me there are more people hidden behind you? Don't tell me that you don't know what Fury and others are most afraid of. They don't dare to put hands on you as they feel you might have more people behind you," Loki said. Fury, who heard all this, didn't say anything, as this was true and S.H.I.E.L.D. truly did fear if John had been hiding many people from them. That was one of the main reasons why John was brought here, on the fact that he might be hiding, and if anything turns south John might bring help from his otherworldly friends. "I know all of this, Loki. You don't need to instigate me against them. I have one question for you. Hope you answer it," John said. The others who were listening to this conversation, they wanted to know what question John was going to ask Loki. "Did you meet him?" John said with a serious face. "Him? Who do you mean?" "Clint. Clint never said he had any friendship with you," Loki said. "The Mad Titan," John said, interrupting him. Loki instantly stiffened when he heard it. He was shocked by the fact that John knew of the him. "From your body's response it seems you did meet him. Good. We have a long way to go, Loki. A very long way to go," John said and left. Fury, who heard their conversation, was curious but didn't ask John in front of Loki. Others who were listening to this conversation turned towards Thor. "What are you all looking at me for? I don't know who this Mad Titan is. I only know that he has an army called the Sheetori. He wants to lead them to Earth. They will win him the Earth, and in return, I believe, for the Tesseract." John came up to the meeting room in a minute, followed by Fury, and even Tony and Bruce entered the room. Tony, who was listening to the conversation to Loki too, also couldn't hold himself back and asked, "John, who is this Mad Titan?" Others too were watching him with eager expression. "A very powerful person. You just need to know this. Even if I tell you about him it's useless and it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to know if Loki met him along the way," John said. "Are you sure about this?" From the response of Loki it seems he was scared of this Mad Titan a little. Fury asked with contemplation. "Trust me, Fury. He doesn't really matter now. I just wanted to ask Loki to confirm some of my guesses. You should focus on finding the Tesseract. Oh yes. Stay as far away from Loki's scepter as you can. It might warp your minds," John said. "Ha! Loki's scepter? Are you sure?" Steve asked. "Yes. Just stay away from it for now," John insisted. "Did your dreams show you about the future? Is that why you said that?" Fury asked now. "The future which I see belongs to other universes similar to us, and it's never constant. So don't put your $1 million on my future. It changes every second," John said as he blurted out a bunch of lies. As everybody sat down, Fury said, "Diana, can you use the lasso of truth on Loki to figure his plan out?" "Sure." Diana went to the cage and everybody sat in their places to see what plans did Loki have with the cube and how does he plan to bring the army to Earth. As soon as Diana went inside the cage, Loki knew what Diana was here for. "You must be really desperate to even use the lasso on me," Loki said. Diana didn't utter a word and wrapped Loki in lasso as he didn't resist at all. "What are your plans with the Tesseract?" Loki tried stopping himself from uttering, but no matter how he tried he couldn't stop himself from saying, I just plan to bring the Shitori to Earth. The other processes are handled by Eric, as I don't understand Earth's science as it is too backward. How do you plan to bring the army? Diana continued. I have no idea. I didn't ask. I knew that I might be caught and be used the lasso, so I deliberately avoided the whole plan, Loki said, and this time with a huge smile. Why did you let yourself get caught so easily? So that I can manipulate all of you and break you all from inside. Well, that was the plan, but it seems it's out of the window now. Loki said. Diana just looked at him for a few seconds and even tightened the rope around Loki, but it resulted to anything. With a sigh, Diana came back to the bridge. I tried. He knew I would use the lasso on him, so he took measures against it. It seems like we need to depend on ourselves to find the cube as fast as possible. Fury said with an exhaustion. Tony and Bruce both did their homework on the notes of Eric Selvig, so they were ready to assist Banner in search of it. John decided to follow them to the laboratory and see, even with the absence of influence of Scepter, if Banner transforms. Banner and everybody started working on finding, while Tony was being a little jumpy. John knew that Tony had already started hacking into the files of S.H.I.E.L.D. about the Tesseract, as he felt that Nick's theory of using clean energy from Tesseract to fuel the world was a lie. As Tony was having fun with Banner by giving him a mild electric shock, Steve barged in. Hey! Are you nuts? Is everything a joke to you? Funny things are. Tony replied. Threatening the lives of everybody on the ship isn't funny. Just focus on finding the Tesseract, Steve said. You think I am not? We are already sweeping the entire planet to find the Tesseract. But Captain, have you never doubted Fury? Why call us now? Not before. Jarvis is already running through the files of S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't believe me? Ask Wayne and Banner. Even John can say that something is wrong with Fury approaching us now. Steve turned towards Bruce, who was listening and working in his place beside. Bruce, what do you think? A spy who doesn't have secrets isn't a good spy. There must always be a plan B for organizations like this. I am just guessing if we are plan A or plan B. Bruce said with a flat tone. Doctor, what do you think? Steve asked. Tony has been the forefront of clean energy for a time now. If they really wanted clean energy, why not bring Tony before? What is he hiding? Steve looked at John, who was eating snacks provided by Tony. He just shrugged his shoulders, stating that he accepts whatever they said. Just find the Tesseract, Steve left, saying that, but talking with the other three made him doubt, and he went to find out if S.H.I.E.L.D. was hiding something. After half an hour, S.H.I.E.L.D. got to know that a virus had infiltrated the files of it, and Fury knew instantly who was behind it. He went directly to the laboratory to confront Tony. What are you doing, Mr. Stark? Kind of wondering same thing about yourself, Tony replied. You are supposed on finding the Tesseract. We are already searching the whole planet for it. When we get a hit, we will have the location within half a mile. Yeah, it will be soon. But tell me, Fury. What is Phase 2? Tony asked, looking at the screen. Phase 2 is using the Tesseract to make weapons. Steve said as he entered the laboratory and placed a weapon in front of them. S.H.I.E.L.D. has made missiles and other kinds of weapons with the help of the Tesseract. It was Wayne who spoke this time. I would like to know why S.H.I.E.L.D. is using the Tesseract for making weapons of mass destruction. Banner pointed out the screen. By this time Diana, Thor and even Natasha joined in. Because of him. Fury said as he pointed towards Thor. Fury pointed at Thor and said, last year we had a visitor on Earth. Their small match leveled a town. Tell them the truth, Fury, John said, intercepting Fury. John, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke out. Fury almost stumbled when John said that. Fury looked at John for a moment and said, "What truth?" "The truth why you really wanted to make weapons from the Tesseract. The actual history of Pegasus Project," John said. "You knew about this. You can look at past too," Fury said, now with apprehensiveness. "I can look into many things, Fury," John said. "What truth are you speaking about?" Steve asked. John looked at Fury. Fury knew he couldn't hide it, so he finally said, "In 1995, Earth was almost invaded by an hostile alien force. This was stopped by the help of someone. At that day I realized that we were hilariously outmanned and outgunned," Fury said. "Why didn't we ever know that it happened? There was no news about that," Tony asked. "Because the person who helped us is way too powerful. The Avengers Initiative was born because of her. In addition, now with the new world being merged, the top people must be really scared," John replied this time. Fury now was sure that John knew everything. John didn't mention about Skrulls because the agenda of secret invasion is on. He didn't want to expose too much to make the Skrulls more attentive to him. At this point Steve too knew about the new world. He was surprised at the beginning with this new world being merged, but like aliens present, Steve thought of them as aliens. Huh. So this she is really powerful enough to stop an invasion almost single-handedly. But where is she now? Bruce asked. Relocating and helping other planets in need. I can only contact her in case of emergency. This hasn't been the condition yet. That's why Phase 2 was created along with the idea of Avengers. I wanted a group of heroes powerful enough to stop any kind of invasion. But I can also understand one person can only be so much powerful, so Phase 2 was the plan," Fury said. "So now you know the whole story." Everybody were silent as they heard it. As they were contemplating, there was a huge explosion and the laboratory blew a hole in the middle. John and everybody were thrown away by the blast. Natasha and Banner fell down through the hole while others got disoriented. After few seconds they finally got their bearings. Wayne saw all this and said while bringing out his mobile, "One engine is down. Tony and I will go check if we can repair the engine. If we lose another engine we won't be in air anymore. Steve and John, you can stop any infiltration during this mayhem. I am sure the enemy will sneak into us. Thor and Diana, go and stop Banner if he goes out of control. I have a feeling he might." John followed what Wayne said and with Steve went out searching for any sneak attacks. John went to his room to wear the equipment he brought. The wild hand gloves. Same as the flame alchemist Roy Mustang. Even though he could do flame alchemy without the gloves, he needed a spark for that, and only the gloves could provide that spark. John, after wearing the gloves, went out searching. Banner did lose his control over Hulk after falling down. Thor and Diana had to fight it out with Hulk to keep him under control. "Thor, we need to make him fall down and then you can keep Mjolnir over his chest. He won't be able to move if we did that. We don't want casualties here," Diana said. "Good plan, you hold him down with the lasso and I will make him fall down," Thor said. Diana was able to wrap her lasso around Hulk after exchanging some blows. Thor took his hammer and gave a huge blow to Hulk's legs. Hulk fell down spontaneously and Thor took his hammer and kept over the chest of Hulk. "Banner, we are not your enemies. Wake up. "We need you," Thor said. On the other side, Wayne and Stark were busy repairing the rotator of the engine. The only difference from the original plot was that Tony used iron alchemy to remove the big iron chunk that got stuck in the rotator. Wayne was attacked when he was going to restart the engine, which led the Iron Man's damage to his armor while driving the rotator manually. Steve went to the bridge to stop any suspicious person entering the control room. John, who was nearby, finally saw Clint with blue eyes pointing his bow and arrow from a concealed ramp. John knew he had to stop Clint before he does more damage to the helicarrier. John had let all the heroes follow their destined path, but now it was time for change, as the upcoming war would be dangerous. John had planned for this war for a long time, and it was time to execute this plan. The next moment John used his left hand to touch the floor. Everybody's eyes turned around by the shining blue sparky lightning. The lightning flowed towards the ramp where Clint was hiding. Then huge metal circular cones came out of the walls and floors. The circular cones that came out from all sides binded Clint from all sides without giving him an inch to move. He couldn't even twitch his fingers, nor could he step forward from the only side that was open. The others in the room were dumbstruck, including Steve, as he had never seen such kind of thing ever before. Fury too had a weird look in his face. He suspected that John knew alchemy, but he still wasn't sure what kind of alchemy John knew. "What? Didn't you see Tony doing alchemy before? I thought S.H.I.E.L.D. knew everything. You can't expect me to come empty-handed. Can you?" Natasha came a couple of minutes later to see Clint was being tied down. "You need to wake him up. Do whatever possible," John said. Steve, who was looking at Clint, said, "Can he get away from this control?" "Yes. Just hit him in the face," John said with a chilly smile. The others looked at him weirdly, but at the end chose to believe John. Clint was taken to a secluded space so that he could be brought back to normal, and Natasha followed him. Hulk changed back to Banner soon. It was easier this time, as he was not affected by Loki's scepter. It took some time, but Banner was back instead of being thrown down to a random place in the original plot. It affected Thor too, as he wasn't stuck in the cage. But Loki in the meantime managed to escape by the Quinjet Clint had hit them. The agents who went to secure the cage died, and even Coulson was almost in deathbed. Fury went directly to Coulson. John too followed him. "How do you want to save Coulson?" John said, as he knew Coulson won't die due to this. "I will call in a medical ninja. We have one here on hire. I hope you won't tell the others about the medical ninja. This was a secret between me and Derue. I asked for situations like this," Fury said. "Sure, don't worry about that. But why did you choose to disclose this with me?" "Because it's related to ninjas. They are your friends. I have lied way too much to get this team together. I think some truth should come out." John really didn't know of the presence of ninja, as he didn't check the presence of his summons in the helicarrier. Now that he checked, he noticed a ninja, who was coming towards their position. She belonged to Kumo Gakure. John left after seeing everything was in place. Everybody came back to the bridge, shaken by this small adventure. Many agents died, and the fate of Coulson was unknown. Many people here had crossed paths with him before, so everybody was sad. Fury didn't mention of having advanced medical help in the helicarrier, as he wanted to bring the team together. There was this idea of Avengers Initiative. Bruce and Diana had been a part of their own team before they got moved here. "I have wanted to make such a team for a long time." Coulson too believed in this idea of a team. A team of superheroes so they could fight the battles we never could. At one point I even thought of discussing this with the 5 kids. But I don't think they will trust me. Yes, we had the option of phase 2. But I still chose to bring you all in instead of going through with phase 2. Everybody was silent. We need to find Loki again. The last time he got caught by his choice. We need to bring him on our terms. Bruce said. Where shall we search for him? Tony said. The next moment Tony's cell vibrated. He took it out and put it onto his ears. Tony trembled a bit after hearing the voice from other side. No. Don't do anything. I am coming right now. And kept it away immediately after. I know where Loki is. Let's go. Fury, get your communications online. Tony said. This time everybody got ready. Even Clint was awake after being hit in his head by Natasha. Diana and Bruce went into the Batwing, while others took on the Quinjet. Tony flew away by himself as he would be faster than others with his suit. John too joined as he couldn't miss this war. Of course John wore a suit and even had a mask. The mask of the Anbu Corps used by the ninjas. As John went inside the plane he took out his mobile and called. Derue, can you send 100 tune-in ninjas to New York? Keep them hidden in the city and help people in evacuation. No need to show your face to public. Send a small team of medical ninjas too to save those who might be injured. Everybody were confused by this. Is the army already coming? Can't it be stopped before? Steve said. No. This war is required to back some people off Earth and to make a statement. John said. Everybody had a sullen face when they heard it. John can't let this war go away from his hands. This would be his best chance to expose the superheroes and gain more fan values. The reason he called the ninjas because he didn't want innocents to die and save them as much as possible. This was the best he could do, slowly turn the people's favor and increase fan values. People will believe in real heroes more than virtual ones. Tony received a call from Drift saying Eric Selvig was in the roof of Stark Tower. Drift wanted to come up and stop Eric from doing anything, but Tony told him to stop as he was sure if Drift took any step in broad daylight it might cause more panic, as the people would definitely see such a huge humanoid robot. More problems would pop up afterwards. It can be said that Drift helped him in this regard instead of figuring out the location of the cube itself by deep thinking. The plot followed exactly like it was supposed to, as Tony was thrown down by Loki and Mark 7 flew down to catch him. The portal had already opened when Batwing and the Quinjet reached New York. Tony was flying and fighting. Wayne and Diana went to the Stark Tower directly as Diana saw Loki in the Stark Tower while the Quinjet landed in a big square. We need a plan. Wayne, how is it looking up there? Steve said over communications. Diana used the lasso of truth on Loki. It seems like he doesn't know how to close the portal. We need to find another way out. And stop these aliens from spreading around the whole city. As Batman was talking they were suddenly shot by a laser gun from one of the flying alien aircrafts. Diana, who saw it incoming, covered herself and Bruce but were still flung away by few meters. Are you both all right? Steve asked as he too heard the blast over the call. After few seconds Diana's voice came. We are all right. We all need to work together to combat the situation. Steve said. John noticed that the Shitori came with greater force than the original one. He saw that there were already 2 Leviathans from the beginning of the attack with higher number of aliens. It was much different from the movie. The butterfly effect does impact in a larger scale than I expected. I suppose Loki asked for more help as he had seen Diana before. John murmured. Batman and Wonder Woman came flying, gliding, down the next minute from the Stark Tower. Where's Loki? Thor asked. He sneaked away in that blast, Diana said. As they were thinking of an action plan, Tony said over the call. Guys. Everybody is here. Good. I am bringing the party to you, he said as he led a Leviathan towards their direction. I don't see how that's a party, Natasha said. Banner, I think it's time to get angry, Wayne said. That's my secret, Bats. I am always angry. Banner turned to Hulk the next second and stopped the Leviathan with one punch. But the inertia of the Leviathan was too huge to stop its rear end. John knew he had to take action here. He stretched his arm towards the huge moving body and snapped his fingers. A huge spark was sent to the body of the Leviathan and it created a huge explosion of fire on it. The fire blast was so huge that all had to take cover to get away from the heat of it. Remind me never to be an enemy of you, Clint said. Batman, we need a plan. Till we can close the portal we need to limit the destruction, Steve said. We need to set a perimeter of 6 to 10 blocks. Nothing should cross that. Me and you can fight the aliens here as this is almost the center. Clint, go up and scan everything and relay back to us, and on the way blow them up as much as you can. Natasha, you are good at spy. Try to find ways to close the portal. Go to the roof of Stark Tower. John, go around the perimeter and blow them up. Tony, if you can't kill them, lead the strays to us. And Hulk, smash. Good. Diana and Thor, you both can almost fly. Thor, kill them as much as you when they come out. Use your lightning. Diana, help Tony in controlling everything around. Let's work for a living, people, Steve said. Everybody went into work. John ran around the perimeter. In order not to be in danger, he called Sajuk to secretly follow him and help him if he is in danger. Sajuk and other Jonins had always been secretly protecting John. After the confrontation with Sitwell, John had to take certain measures against Hydra. The shielding technology wasn't mature yet. It would take a few more months to be used as Bruce said so. John had ordered Sajuk to be with him till then. He went around using flame alchemy on any moving alien, and those who came close to him he used the alchemy of decomposition and reconstruction to kill them. Truth to be said, John was having fun killing the aliens. Sajuk killed a few who tried to snipe John from far with the laser guns. John even saw some ninjas moving very fast and taking away the stranded strangers. There were screams around as the people didn't realize who were taking them away, but they calmed down as they saw that all of them were much further away from the invasion. Even though they didn't see the face of their saviors, all of them were grateful. This is too slow, John murmured to himself. Time to use the system. Change myself to Minotaur Mikaz. Ding. Command accepted. John changed to Minotaur. He then, using chakra, changed himself to John's shape and face again, as John didn't want any suspicion of his absence from battle. He was wearing a mask anyways, changing his body shape won't consume much chakra. John even copied the alchemic tattoos. Fix it, scan the area and plan out the most efficient way to kill the aliens. John then proceeded in the plan laid out by Fix-It. He used his kunais to shuttle from place to place killing aliens. As he was killing them, he saw 2 leviathans wreaking havoc on the streets. John threw the kunai to one of them. It got struck in the body and John appeared near the kunai the next moment. He used the decomposition alchemy over the body of the Leviathan. It instantly spilled out alien blood from many of its orifices. The Leviathan screamed in pain as it went down. The Leviathan beside saw this and turned towards John with its mouth wide open. "Didn't your mother teach you not to eat weird things?" John said, and he snapped his finger towards the direction of the Leviathan's huge mouth. A fire broke out inside the mouth as it drilled inside of its body. It charred the Leviathan, and this too followed the same fate as the other one. The only difference was it was charred black as opposed to dying in a pool of blood like the previous one. The Shitori army nearby saw all this and roared at John. They instantly shot at John, but he had already vanished from his spot and he was high up in a high-rise building nearby. Sigh. Too many Leviathans have come up. With so many corpses it will be easier for the vulture to steal the technology from the Shitori, John said as he looked around all the destruction. Though the ninjas were constantly rescuing people, some of the people still suffered. He could see Diana and Thor in the air dealing with the flying aircrafts. He could even see vague shadows of Wayne and Steve fighting in the streets. Batman used alchemy whenever possible and launched sneak attacks while Captain Rogers took a frontal approach of attack. Hulk was more brutal as he didn't distinguish between anybody and took all-out approach for everything. He smashed and gorged every single alien his eyes could find. Hulk even smacked at a Leviathan along the way. The people all over the world could see the situation of New York and they were in for a ride. The people knew that Batman was real, but they had no idea that even Diana Prince was real. And from the live telecast and videos, the powers shown by Wonder Woman was exactly as same as the movie. This changed the perspective of the world as for the first time evidence of the presence of gods was proven. So Wonder Woman is real, that means Zeus was real and maybe still be alive as his life was never shown. John Jameson might know of their existence from before and that is why he made movies of them. Wait. There was a recent movie called Green Lantern. Since aliens are real, aren't there guardians protecting the galaxies? Where are they? The people all over the world discussed on the presence of superheroes. Diana and Thor's powers surprised many, but people also saw Iron Man, Batman and Captain Rogers fighting. Some people finally recognized Captain America, and this information too shook the people as he was supposed to be dead. As John was killing people, he started receiving calls. First was his father, asking him of his whereabouts. John assured him that he was safe and he was just helping in rescue operations. John didn't dare to say that he was fighting in the front line. John was avoiding public cameras wherever possible as he didn't want too much of exposure. People wouldn't be able to recognize him from his body structure alone, neither he wanted to be in the spotlight. After convincing his father and Val, he finally sighed in relief, but little did he know that another person was worried about him. "You are in the front line fighting along with the superheroes," Emma called, and it was her first words. "No. I am just volunteering in rescue operation," John denied. "Don't lie to me. I saw one person in a video snapping his fingers and blazing that huge hovering monster with fire. You have that flame alchemy tattoo in your hands. Do you think I am a fool?" Emma almost screamed. "Ha! How do you know that it isn't Roy Mustang? He also has flame alchemy," John said. "John, we have slept together. Do you think I won't recognize that body structure? F***K. Fine, I am in the battle. Don't worry, I am safe. People are there with me. What will you do if you are shot by these laser guns? You don't have any superpowers. Those alchemic powers are nothing in front of bullets. It's fine. I am safe. Trust me, Emma. I am being protected always. You don't have to worry about me. John said. This is the last time you are allowed to do what you are doing, Mr. John Jameson. Sure. Now let me go. Got some aliens to give a taste what Earth's hell looks like. John said as he ended the call and continued killing aliens. The war raged meanwhile. All of the superheroes were able to constrict the outflow of the aliens which were still entering Earth from the wormhole. But there was an equal amount of destruction in the blocks where they constricted them. Governments from all over the Earth were watching it with concern as they felt insecure. Loki, on the other hand, who was flying around on an alien aircraft, was blasted away by an arrow of Clint. And Hulk, who was cruising by, smashed Loki and said the famous words, "Puny God." John in future, when he came to know, regretted a lot as he couldn't record that famous scene live, and in this way the scepter was thrown away from Loki. After half an hour of continuous fight, the World Council had finally decided to nuke NY to stop the continuous onslaught. Natasha, on the other hand, was able to reach the roof of Stark Tower and found Eric Selvig, who was sober now. From him Natasha came to know that she could close the wormhole using the scepter. "Tony, we have a nuke coming your way, I couldn't stop it. It was the decision of World Council. Tony, you need to send the nuke inside the wormhole." Natasha just said she knows how to close the portal. "We can close the portal after sending the nuke," Batman said. His armor looked broken at many parts now. Even though he had upgraded his armor and looked almost like the armor in Batman Arkham Knight, it still was damaged to many places after continuous fight. "Guys, pray for me. I am off," Tony said, and he went to direction of the nuclear missile to direct it towards the portal. But everybody became desperate when a new information emerged. The White House too sent another nuclear missile as they feared one missile might not be powerful enough to destroy all the aliens and the Leviathans. What the actual ****t? Are they so much desperate? I am not going to vote in any more elections if I survive this. Clint screamed when he heard this. John, who was listening to all this, smiled. Didn't he want to introduce another superhero? This was the perfect time for it. He said over the communications, "Guys, we have a new friend coming our way." "New friend?" Steve asked. "Just look into the sky. You will see him soon," John said. Everybody started looking at the sky, but they didn't see anything. After a few seconds, Natasha, who was on the roof, saw a green light flying towards the second nuclear missile. She knew instantly who this new friend was. "The Lantern Corps is here. Took this policeman long enough," Natasha said. "Hal Jordan. I thought he would never come," Steve said as he too was briefed on him before. He suspected a little bit before about the Green Lantern, but now it seemed the Lantern Corps really existed. Batman, on the other hand, was little bit happy to see an old comrade again. "Sorry Bats, I am late. Got lost in this new universe. Had to figure my way here." Hal Jordan lied as was instructed by John. "It's fine. Direct that missile towards the portal. And bring back Tony. His suit wouldn't support in vacuum," Batman said. The people all over the world saw the man in green suit and knew that even Green Lantern was real. "Why is this guy so late? Isn't he supposed to be the protector of the galaxies? I need an audience with the Guardians and revoke his license of being a Green Lantern," said a man who was watching all this on television. "Audience with the Guardians. Do you think you can ever see the Guardians in your lifetime? Said another man who was watching all this with him. Almost all people believed in the movie of John by now after seeing Batman and Wonder Woman. Little did they know that there was no Lantern Corps in this universe unless John decides to bring the Guardians and they incorporate the Corps. Hal flew towards the incoming missile and wrapped it around a green halo with his ring. He took the missile and flew towards the portal. S.H.I.E.L.D. who saw this sighed in relief as they too were responsible for this debacle. Tony and Hal reached one end of the wormhole at almost the same time. After you, Tin Man. Hal said to Tony as he was approaching. Don't make me die in hypoxia, green-lit guy. Tony said as he entered the portal with the missile. Hal too followed him with the missile. Close the portal when I say it. Hal said as he crossed to the other side. After few seconds Hal's voice again sounded in the communications. Close the portal, their ship is toast. The Green Lantern returned with Iron Man, who was covered in a green ball. He slowly flew down as the portal was closed by Natasha. The Shi'Tori aliens died after the nuke bombed their spaceship. Hello Bruce. Never thought I would be relieved to see you again. You must be the new guys John told me about. Hello to all, I guess you know my identity so I won't bother introducing myself. Guys, there is a place where they are selling shawarma. We should try it. Tony said as he came out of the green ball. Yes, but before that we will have to deal with the last person. John, who just joined, said. They all went to the Stark Tower to see Loki finally managing to sit straight. If it's all the same to you guys, I will take that drink. Loki said, referring to the previous conversation he had with Tony. John, who was looking at Loki, took out his mask and said. Loki, I am looking forward to see you again. Be well till then. Then the S.H.I.E.L.D. personnel came and took away the scepter. John saw Rumlow and Sitwell coming to take it. John could feel Sitwell trying to be away from John, especially after what he saw in videos of John fighting. John just smiled at Sitwell. Sitwell had always felt a kind of fear in front of John which no other superheroes gave him. I will have to ask Pierce again to remove him. He is more dangerous than we thought. Hal, who was new to this world, was talking with all others while Loki was taken away. Diana, who was curious about Hal, asked him several questions about their Lantern Corps. It's a pity that there are no Lantern Corps here in this world. It would have been easier. Natasha said. As she felt having a single corps would be useless in the vast universe. She didn't know how vast the universe, but the presence of Shi'Tori and Thor gave all of them a glimpse how vast the universe might be. As they went down the Stark Tower, John kept a keen eye to see if there is any future Tony Stark here, but didn't see anyone. Did our past change the future? Well, there are multiple timelines. It's fine as long as the timeline remains intact. John thought, but since he didn't see the future Tony Stark, but then he threw away the thoughts to the back of his mind. They went down only to be confronted by Pierce. There was a huge debate between Thor and them, and finally Nick came to resolve the problem. The Tesseract and Loki would be taken to Asgard for safekeeping and proper trial. Pierce had huge objections but finally succumbed to Fury's persistence. He couldn't make proper arguments as there were many superheroes present here who saved New York, and they too took the side of Thor. If Pierce insisted, it might backfire on him. John, who was looking at the argument, didn't insert himself, but invisibly he too showed that he was on the side of Thor. Both Tony and John had huge influence, so Pierce had more reasons not to go against their wishes. Later everybody went to eat shawarma as all were tired and needed a time off. Even Hal and Banner joined, turning themselves back to a normal persons. Hal looked very young and handsome like in the movie. While eating, Hal finally asked John, "Will the Lantern Corps come? I would have to recharge my ring from the green element lantern." John stiffened when he heard this. He had forgotten about the recharge of the ring when he bought Green Lantern. Now it has come back to bite him. He hesitated a bit and said, "I am not sure, they might arrive along with Guardians." John said, "It would be better if the Lantern Corps is here too." Diana said. John didn't add anything to it as he had to go home and see how much fan values were required to extract the Guardians and the green element. "I have a question for you, John. Why don't you have the same anger against Loki as we have? I can understand Thor as Loki is his brother. But what's the matter with you? I have seen the way you look at him." Banner asked curiously. "He is just lost in his way, he isn't essentially a evil guy. In almost all versions of Loki in Multiverse that I have dreamed before, he isn't that bad. You can say he is mischievous and have a huge hunger to prove himself. In fact, in some world he is a good person, and I believe this version of Loki too isn't bad." John smiled and said, "Odin's beard. How many different universes do you dream about? It must be annoying to watch worlds in every sleep, I presume." Thor said as he was happy that John didn't consider Loki as evil like the other guys present. "It's all right. I am used to it by now." After eating, Thor went with Bruce and Diana as Bruce assured Thor of making a device for him to travel using the Tesseract to his home with Loki, who was imprisoned in S.H.I.E.L.D. for the time being. John went back home as Bumblebee came to pick him up. His father was little concerned and he got the text that Emma was going to come to New York tomorrow, as she too was stressed about John. John returned home only to see his father sitting and waiting for him with an anxious look in his face. "Are you all right? Are you hurt?" "I am absolutely all right, Dad. I just volunteered in the sidelines." John lied. Even though his father didn't believe his words, but he didn't insist seeing his son in one piece with no injuries whatsoever. John went to his room as he had to check the total fan values after having dinner. He recalled the system in his mind. There was a huge surge in the fan values as ding. Total fan values, 2.5 billion. The host has crossed the threshold of the first update. Will the system proceed to update? An update. John got excited. Do it now. Ding. Updating 10%. 40%. 80%. 100%. Update complete. The host can now select any faction or inorganic things as he wishes from the movies, anime and series produced by the host. And the host can choose to extract a specific and a single power from any of the anime, movies and series' characters that the host has produced as of now, as he wishes, free of cost. It can only be a single power of a living character from the previous worlds. Really? That's awesome. Can I have Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan? John asked. The host can surely have it, but the host is reminded that he won't be able to use the Sharingan as the host doesn't have chakra in the body. It can only be a single power. It's either Sharingan or chakra. So at the end it would be useless. Does the host still want to proceed? What a load of S***T. All my dreams down the drain of being a superhero. Wait, I can eat the chakra fruit of Kaguya. System, give me the powers of chakra fruit. Ding. Error. Kaguya was dead at the end of the previous world's story. Since it's a dead character's powers, It cannot be extracted. Ha! What the hell? John wanted to slap himself now as he didn't produce more animes that he should have. Actually, this couldn't be blamed at John as he did his best when it came to animes. He had already produced popular animes such as Bleach, Pokemon, One Piece, Seven Deadly Sins and such, but he still hasn't introduced many animes from his previous world as he didn't have enough time yet. Producing all these took time and effort as he couldn't just make a random story. He needed to follow the stories from his previous life, and that needed careful direction and management as he couldn't deviate from the original stories of the previous works. Whatever. I will just choose from One Piece then. That would be more practical, John thought for a moment and finally decided on a power. He chose a devil fruit. Even if he will lose the ability to swim, the next superhero movie will allow him to overcome this inability by a huge margin. System: extract the power of Marco's Phoenix power from One Piece. John in his previous life was a huge fan of Marco's Phoenix power, and Marco was still alive the last time he saw, so he chose that. He could have chosen Logia fruit like Ace's or even Borsellino's fruit, but he had a strong liking for Marco's Phoenix. Being a phoenix was a huge temptation for John. John even suspected of Monkey D. Dragon had a dragon, Mystic Zoan, fruit, but since it never came to anime he couldn't see if it really existed. Ding! Marco's mystical Zoan fruit, Tori Tori no Mi, ready for extraction. Does host want to incorporate it directly in the body? Yes, do it. The next moment John could immediately feel that he had changed a lot. He felt himself stronger. He stretched his hand and it turned into blue-colored fire feathers. He could feel that he can turn his whole body into Phoenix. He wanted to turn himself at that moment to Phoenix, but he knew that the whole house would catch fire if he did that. Even though he felt that he can control the Phoenix power easily, but it will definitely cause light to shine everywhere and raise suspicion from his father if he notices. John was excited as he felt almost invincible, as Phoenix was essentially a Logia, as no bullets could harm him now. John could feel that even if he was blasted by a missile he could rise from the ashes just like a phoenix. This is great. Almost nobody can kill me. I don't need protection from anyone anymore. I can even heal people with this fire. That shielding technology is a waste it seems, but I can give that technology to my family and Emma. Of course I am not invincible, I have a feeling that only Infinity Stones can restrict me. Well, whatever, I will use my superhero powers if the need arises then. System: how much will it cost if I extract the green element and the whole set of Guardians from the Green Lantern movie? If I just extract the planet OA of the Green Lantern. Ding! Bringing the Guardians and the planet of OA will cost the host 1.5 billion. If the host wants to bring the previous lanterns, the cost will be 20 billion. Why are the value of Guardians so low? Wait, if I bring the Guardians and the planet of Lantern, can the Guardians choose new Green Lantern Corps from this universe? Ding! Yes. An absolute new Lantern Corps will be created. The price of green element is low because it is powered by the will of the people present in the universe. The green element by itself isn't of too high value, and the Guardians only have knowledge from the previous universe. They have no such knowledge of this universe. All right. But where will I summon the planet OA? I can't place it in Earth now. Ding! After the update, the host can any world, planet or any character in the range of the solar system. That's great. I won't have to bother anymore. Tomorrow I will just place the planet OA near Saturn. John went to sleep after that as he was tired. though he didn't do much work as he was acting as Minato, but he still felt a little bit tired. The next day John woke up with lots of messages and calls. People that were known to him were constantly barraging him for an interview. Being the creator of movies that brought out superheroes, he was in the forefront of whole debacle in New York. John proceeded to ignore that like Tony. Sometimes being mysterious would be the best answer to such useless things. Emma will come in a few hours. I should go to receive her. Have to talk to Hal too about the Guardians later. John got ready after having breakfast and went directly to the airport. He had to pick up Emma. After waiting for half an hour, Emma finally came out from the airport. Emma almost ran to John and kissed him. Then she proceeded to check on John's body. "What are you searching for?" John asked as she poked around the body. "Aren't you a bit hurt? You fought for such a long time," Emma asked. "Come on, I told you I am always protected. You don't have to worry at all. Let's go back." "Oh yes, I will introduce you to Hal before we go home. I need to talk with him." On the way, Emma asked about the war and John gave a whole story of how the war happened and how it ended. She was both excited and worried, excited because her boyfriend was a superhero but also worried about him. Soon they reached the home of Bruce. "Hello Master Jameson, Miss Watson." "Bruce and others are in the family room," Alfred said as he led them inside. "Hello Alfred." Emma and John both greeted Alfred. They went into the family room to see Hal and everyone talking and discussing about the new Earth. John came and sat down. "This must be Miss Watson. It's my pleasure to meet you." "John is lucky enough," Hal said. Emma blushed a bit as she, like others, was overwhelmed by a new superhero. "Hal, I have come with news," John said. "Ow. Tell me," Hal said, being interested. "The planet of Oa will arrive today near Saturn. There will be no previous lanterns core, so new rings will be required to produce. This universe will have a new core of lanterns and you will have to be the leader and trainer for them. You will have to speak with APA for proper settlement of Oa and the future of Green Lanterns here." "Ha! Oa is being merged. For a moment I thought I won't have to take orders from those Guardians. So much for a small vacation. Now I will have to be a trainer too. What ***T show?" Hal complained the moment he heard Oa is coming. John just smiled at him as he alone was responsible for this merge, but he didn't say anything. Emma, who heard their conversation, was surprised too, as it meant there will be new core in the future. For a second she even imagined herself to be a member of the core, but she knew she wasn't capable enough. After talking with others, John left as she wanted a quiet time for now. While driving home, John suddenly remembered one thing. He hesitated a bit but finally asked Emma. "Emma, do you want to move in with me? To a new home here? I thought you would never ask." Emma smiled and replied. John was ecstatic hearing this. He just needed to buy a new home and move away from his old one. He was old enough for that. He had dreamed of living with Emma for a long time now. The New York War was what stopped him from asking this. By the time they reached home, they saw various reporters outside the gate waiting for John. John trembled a bit seeing such a huge mass of reporters. He finally avoided their questions from inside the window of the car and Bumblebee managed to go to the garage. They went inside the home and sat down. Emma went to her room to fresh up herself after a long journey. John closed his eyes and called the system to place the planet Oa in a sustainable orbit around Saturn. Ding! The plant OA is going to be placed around Saturn in a sustainable orbit. Should the command be proceeded? Yes. Summon Apatu. Apa, the main guardian, was summoned. Apa was the first alien John had ever summoned. He looked very small in height. Even though Apa looked small, he was levitating in air. The Guardians were basically immortals, and in comics they were very powerful beings. It was toned down a lot in the movies, and it led to having very low power being possessed by the Guardians. This was also the reason why the price of OA and the Guardians were low. Apa, you have seen all my memories. What do you think? John said as he shared all the memories he had from the movies and the current situation, and even a glimpse of future plans. Apa was the first person to know everything of the past and of future, barring the power of the system. This universe is dangerous too. Why does every universe has such weird beings around? There is a watcher too like us. That is interesting. I would like to meet him someday. We will need some time to settle the creation of new rings. Hal is here. He as a trainer will be our worst nightmare. Apa said. John and Apa continued to speak about the new rings. John was curious too about the Guardians, and he asked him about their universe. As they were talking, Emma came out of her room after having a bath. When she entered the family room, she froze. Apa, who was floating, turned around and looked at her. Emma, this is Apa, the main guardian of OA. Emma instantly bowed her head. She had immense respect for Guardians, as they were the creators of rings. Such great power being wielded by them, but still remained uncorrupt. That itself was an immense feat. Apa looked at Emma from head to toe and had a small glint in his eyes. He turned around and said, I am off. OA has already landed in Saturn. Guide me to OA. Tell Hal to report himself in front of us. Sure. See you. John said and waved his hands. Apa vanished in the spot. Emma, who was nearby, trembled. She reached a seat and sat down as if she was in a very tight spot few seconds ago. What happened? Why so anxious? John said while messaging Hal to report to OA. Anxious? That was a Guardian. How are you casual in front of a Guardian? Emma retorted. He is knowledgeable, but his knowledge is only of his universe and their versions of Multiverse. I am more knowledgeable in this regard. John said with a hint of pride. I wish I could travel around the universe. Can I go to OA? For a touristic visit, of course. Emma said with a hint of yearning while totally neglecting the words of John. You want to travel in space? It's not a huge thing to travel in space. I can take you too when I go out in future. It's easy for me. John said as he continued to show his prideful behavior. You have spaceships? Emma almost screamed in the top of her lungs. John had to use his hand and shut her mouth. God! Do you want the hungry reporters outside to hear this? Is it that surprising that I have spaceships? You can't expect me to show everything to the world now. Can you? John said. John didn't actually have a spaceship, but he made the movie Dune. He could always spend some fan values to buy a spaceship. It was all thanks to the new update of the system. Emma got excited about the prospect of space travel and wanted to know about the spaceship. Her enthusiasm amused John as he tried to explain that the spaceships of him hasn't arrived yet and it was on the way. John didn't plan to travel the universe as he had too much to do now in Earth. When the time is right, John will go out. Meanwhile, when John and Emma were having a nice chat, NASA and SHIELD were panicking as their telescopes have sent the information that a vast planet has arrived in the orbit of Saturn. The planet arrived suddenly out of nowhere, and from the initial images from the powerful telescopes it seemed that there might be a civilization in that planet, as there was a very vague outline of buildings in the planet. The World Council had already been in contact with various countries, as many countries got the information too about this new planet. Fury almost felt he would die in stress. They just crossed a war yesterday and now a new threat. As he was thinking, a sudden thought crossed his mind and immediately dialed John's number. "John, did a new planet arrive in our universe?" John, who received the call from Fury, heard him saying, "Huh? How did you know? Did NASA get a picture of them so easily?" John said, "It seems like you do have a knowledge of them. Why didn't you inform us about it?" Fury said, "Fury, there are so many things happening in the universe. Do you expect me to inform everything?" John said in a sharp tone. "Sorry. But at least tell me about this new planet. It's in our solar system." Fury said, "That's the planet of Oa. The Guardians' home. Don't try to contact them. Most of the Guardians are ill-tempered and don't try to reach their planet. Even though they are not powerful, but their telepathic and telekinetic power isn't a joke. Their whole planet is more advanced than all the technology of ours taken together. And they are protected by the core." John said. "The planet of Oa." Fury paused for a bit. "Okay, I understand. Tell this fact to the public too. It will help you create a good image after all the ***T show your SHIELD and the White House pulled yesterday." Even though everything was in the control of John, but what the White House did yesterday annoyed John a bit. He even thought of replacing the president by his own man. Though that will take some time, as he was contemplating on it. Fury ended the call and went to the meeting with the World Council to spread the news he got from John. The World Council was relieved knowing that it was the planet of Oa. Even though it were not a friendly planet, at least Oa wasn't hostile to them. John and Emma spent the rest of the day searching for a good home in New York to move into, and Emma being very picky about it. They were still continuing the search when John's father came back. "Has the planet of Oa really arrived at the orbit of Saturn?" Jameson asked after entering home. "Yes. It seems Fury did take my advice and told the media. Dad, me and Emma will be moving out together somewhere in New York." John informed his father about it. The people were very doubtful, as they didn't understand of how a planet traveled in space, but the fact that there was one in the orbit of Saturn was a proof that planets can travel too. "Finally you will go out of home. It's been a long time coming now. You should visit her parents too before you move in," Jameson said. In fact, John did have plans to visit her parents in London before he moves in somewhere in New York. "Yes. Val can continue looking after you," John said. The next day John and Emma finally decided on a home which had 3 floors and was in top of a high-rise building. It was almost in the center of the city and close to Stark Tower, which was being rebuilt again after the aftermath. Emma loved the home, but before moving in they had to travel to London to meet her parents. Even though John was very rich, he never wanted to live a very extravagant life like the other billionaires, as it was worthless, and he would prefer a more normal life. That's why he never chose very big homes, as he always felt that it was a waste of space and energy. After staying for a week in NY, John traveled with Emma to London. John was little nervous, as he wasn't sure how her parents would react to him being her boyfriend. Even though Emma assured John, but he still felt it in his nerves. They went straight to her home after landing in London. John brought some gifts from New York to greet them. And the meeting with her parents went more smooth than he expected. Her parents were very kind and her stepmother seemed more than happy to talk with John. Emma's parents had divorced when she was young and her mother lived in France. They asked John to stay over for some days and John happily obliged. The next day John went out with Emma for shopping as she needed to buy something before moving to New York. This was the second time John had come to London and he really liked the city, which had a different look to it than NY. After shopping for 2 days, John decided to go out for a tour around the city and arrived at National History Museum to see the ancient relics. As Emma and John were looking around, a woman came up to them from behind and asked, "Hello. Can I show you around?" John turned around to see the woman but stood rooted in his spot when he saw her face. John knew her very well. The last movie of Marvel before he died had her as one of the character, one of the Eternals, and probably the most powerful among them. Cersei. Emma noticed that John was stuck and spaced out looking at her, so she nudged him a bit. John felt embarrassed as he got lost in thoughts of his previous life. Sometimes John missed his parents and his old friends, but in order to gain something you will probably have to lose too. Sorry. I just got distracted. You are Cersei, right? Please show us around here. John said with a smile. Yes sir, I am Cersei. The woman said, pointing to the name badge on her chest. I am the guide here. Please follow me. John and Emma followed her as explained different artifacts around. They went around while John closely listened to Cersei and looked at her from time to time, trying to find out if she really was an android or was it just a sham by Arishem to fool Cersei. Because Eros was the supposed brother of Thanos, was also an Eternal. If Eternals were really androids, then they wouldn't have been able to procreate. And in comics Eternals were able to procreate, so John didn't understand why Arishem showed Cersei that she was just an android. As they were walking around they came upon a rusted warhammer. John's eyes instantly lit up. Cersei proceeded to say, "This is a warhammer from Benin. I suppose it's from the Fula tribe. Miss Cersei, I think we both know that this artifact isn't from Benin." John said. "I don't understand. What do you mean?" Cersei said with a little bit of apprehension and curiosity. She also knew that this was an artifact from Wakanda made of vibranium. But she couldn't say it as the officials will not leave this piece here and rather use it for their own purposes. Every bit of vibranium was very costly in the market and nobody would let go such a good-sized piece. It's from Wakanda, made of vibranium. Isn't it? Cersei knew that the real identity of the artifact was up in the air, but she couldn't do anything about it. Even though vibranium was very rare in the market, many people knew of its existence. Yes, it is from Wakanda. Cersei admitted. Do you want to mention this to the authorities? Why would I do that? Let it be here. Vibranium doesn't really interest me. John said and proceeded to see the next exhibition. Cersei was surprised by such nonchalance for such high-priced artifact but was grateful for that. Emma, who was listening to their conversation, was little confused but didn't poke her nose in it as she could see there was an interest of John in Cersei. She was sure it wasn't romantic from his eyes, but she was still curious of a woman who could raise such eyebrows of John. Being with John for such a long time, Emma knew that John never showed any interest to any woman up till now, so she knew that there must be something interesting in Cersei. And the topic of vibranium interested her too. After an hour of tour, John finally came out of the museum. Miss Cersei, I am John Jameson. I suppose you know my identity. If you find any difficulties in the future, you can always call my manager in the company directly," John said while bringing out the office card and gave to her. Cersei was surprised because John and Emma had been wearing breathing masks and hats to cover their appearance. For this reason they weren't recognized in public. She did know John as he was famous recently for the superhero movies but never expected him to be here. "Thank you, Mr. Jameson. I would surely contact you if I encounter any difficulty. As of now I really like working in the museum," Cersei said but still took the card. John and Emma left after that. John and Emma while going back in the car could see Emma eyeing him, so he said, "Spill it out. I know you have questions. Who was she? Another dream girl of yours?" Emma said with a taunt because John always mentioned Emma as his dream girl. "Ha! No. Of course not. She is just special in her own way," John said. "Special? Like a dating material special?" Emma said with a hint of a jealousy. "Do you think I can date a thousands of years old woman?" John replied back. John was happy that Emma showed a hint of jealousy. He loved that feeling. "What? 1,000-year-old woman? Are you sick? She doesn't even look more than 40. Emma said. "She is thousands of years old, Emma. She was present when mankind took its first step towards a modern society," John said. "What? Are you serious? Oh my God. How does she look the same after all these years? How is she alive?" Emma was astonished but believed John's words as by now she understood there were extraordinary people around. "She is alive for various reasons, but don't ask me more about it. The knowledge associated with her existence is very dangerous. We aren't powerful enough to confront them yet," John said with a solemn expression. He didn't know if Arisham could see his existence, but he didn't want to take any risk by exposing Arisham to anyone. Emma for the first time saw a hint of fear in John's eyes. John was always nonchalant about most of the things. Even in New York War he didn't show much care. But this woman's history actually gave apprehension to John. This surprised Emma but understood that she shouldn't ask more. Sometimes ignorance was bliss. "Then tell me about this vibranium," Emma asked, remembering the previous conversation. "Oh, that. Vibranium is the most strongest metal on Earth and it comes out from the country of Wakanda," John said. "Oh." Emma lost interest after knowing that it was just a metal and didn't ask more. She probably would have been very interested if she came to know that Wakanda was the most advanced country on Earth. Well, at least on land, he had no idea if Namor existed in this universe. "I hope the next superhero won't have conflict with Namor if he exists." They went back home and John spent a week in London. John and Emma moved to New York by the start of May. They both were really happy and Emma opted to study from online as John had donated a load of money to Brown University and the university was happy enough to give such privilege to Emma. John continued to do his work in movies and animes and he was determined to introduce new animes, as the update of the system gave him a wake-up call. He wasn't sure on how much fan values would be required for the next update as the system refused to answer the number, but he was looking forward to storing massive fan values. When John checked the rise in number of fan values he was ecstatic as he calculated that now the rise in fan values would be almost equivalent to 1.5 billion per year. That was a huge jump. He had already decided to up the rate of movies being released every year as it was time to speed up things. John even checked the response of the public after the war in the internet. Most of the people were very happy that superheroes existed and defended humanity, though some politicians were shouting about accountability, but people hardly cared. But what John didn't expect that Green Lantern got hate in the internet. The people felt that he could have come earlier as OA was very nearby and accused Hal of being lazy. John was dumbstruck by this. What is this? Even in this universe the Green Lantern is in the receiving end of hate. Will this cycle never end? The days went by as John and Emma continued their work. In July John got a call from Tony saying that the shielding technology was ready to use. John was happy as he didn't have to spend fan values to extract it. John and Emma went to the Stark Tower only to see that it has been renamed as Avengers Tower. John smiled at it. He even saw Bruce's car in the garage. So Tony, show me the devices, John said as soon as he entered the laboratory. Instead of having the devices in fingers and hands, I have made the devices as bracelets and anklets. It can even be designed to wrap around as a belt in waist, Tony said as he brought out the devices. John wore it in his hand and switched it on. There was a blue haze around his body for a second but disappeared the next second. Do you want to try it? Tony asked. John looked at Wayne. He understood what John meant and took out his batarang and threw it at John. The batarang reached near the body of John but stopped by a blue haze. It stopped for a second in the haze and then fell off. Great. It works. You kept the research a secret, Tony? John asked. Yes, even though I am not sure why are you taking such a measure, but I understand the conditions. Even Jarvis doesn't have access to it. Tony replied. Good. I want 5 for my family. You can do whatever you want with the rest except for publicizing it. John said. Emma was also excited to see and use such an advanced technology and wore it on her ankle. Even Banner and Wayne were happy seeing such a technology, as basically now nobody can be sniped upon. Especially for Wayne, as he was just a normal human being. Banner, Tony, Wayne, how about we start a new company together? John suddenly said. New company? What do you need a new company for? Don't we have enough companies under both of us? Tony asked. No, this company will be the step for humanity to a new horizon. Don't you want to be in the forefront of it? John said. Now everybody were excited, as John's words basically meant that a new technology is going to arrive at Earth. What kind of technology are you referring to? Banner asked. Artificial gravity and use of solar power in a much efficient way, enough to drive vehicles at high speed in air, John said. Really? That's awesome. When is the technology arriving? Banner said. By the end of the year, an animated movie is being made on it too for all of you to understand the scope of their technology. John said. John and Emma went back home taking the devices. John went to his father's place at night and gave them the devices. He even gave one to Val for her safety, as he trusted her. Another month went by, but there was a very surprising thing that happened in the following month which astonished even John. One fine night while John and Emma were at home talking, there was a green light shining outside the window. At first John thought that Hal had come to meet him, but when he opened the window a Green Lantern ring flew past him. The ring flew towards Emma and floated in front of her. John and Emma were astonished, to say the least. Emma stretched her hand to catch the ring, but it floated away and entered her finger. The very next second a green suit got woven around her body and soon it replaced her dress. John, who looked at the new lantern, was conflicted. He really regretted now bringing OA to this world. Emma would now be exposed to a wider and dangerous world. Even though Green Lanterns are powerful, but they die too and new lanterns take their place. But Emma was excited and checking out her suit. "Emma, are you sure you want to take this mantle?" John asked. "Love, all this time I felt unworthy as I thought your world is wider. But finally now I can follow your footsteps. Be an avenger and a protector of the galaxies. I have never wanted something more in my life." What a headache. I need to talk with Appa for this. Say the words that you are supposed to. I guess you remember the oath. Yes. In brightest day, in blackest night. No evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. Emma thus took her oath. The ring shined brightly for a few seconds and dimmed down. At this moment, the universe had a second Green Lantern. The ring then projected an image in front of her, and on the picture there was Appa floating. "Miss Emma Watson, you are required to report yourself to duty in Sector 21 of OA and take the mantle of being a Green Lantern." "Sir, yes sir. I will report as soon as I arrive in OA. Appa, we need to talk. Can't the Green Lantern choose someone outside Earth?" John was anxious when he said that. Emma pinched him from behind, but he still maintained his position. "I am sorry, John, the ring chooses according to its wishes. We can never interfere. F***K, Emma, better be safe with you all." Appa didn't reply to that, and the image projection from the ring closed by itself. John looked at Emma, who seemed angry. "What? I am scared for your safety," John defended himself. "I know, but I too wish to follow you on this journey." "All right. Go to OA. After you come back I will teach you alchemy. And take this USB drive. It has the knowledge of shielding technology. Tell the Guardians that it is a gift for them to use. They will know how to use this technology properly," John said while handing her a memory stick. John knew he could stop all this by just recalling OA, but the look on Emma's face convinced him otherwise. He didn't want to break the dreams of Emma. All John now had to do is to be stronger to protect Emma along the way. Emma took the USB drive, kissed him deeply as she understood that being a lantern is scary, but nonetheless she had to undertake the journey. John was just worried about him like a normal boyfriend. Emma came up to the window, smiled at John one last time and flew away to the sky. John sat on his sofa and spaced out. She learned to fly so fast. What a genius. After few seconds his phone rang. John picked it up as it was from Fury. "John, has there been a new Green Lantern? The satellites picked up a new person going out of Earth. I remember Hal had already left for OA." Fury asked as John picked up the phone. "Yes, the new recruitment have started. That person was the new Green Lantern. There will be others soon, but I don't think there will be any more from Earth." "Do you know who the new recruit is?" Fury asked. "I do know, but I won't tell you. Figure it out yourself," John said as he ended the call. He didn't care if S.H.I.E.L.D. came to know of Emma's new identity, as the time was approaching soon to deal with Hydra. From the memories of Naruto's world, John knew that after New York War Hydra had been very impatient and had started making moves. John had let Hydra make their moves in Naruto's world, in order to bring them together and deal with this hidden snake. Having Hydra around was a danger in itself. It has been almost over a year since Hydra had been trying to infiltrate. But since they weren't powerful enough, Hydra took a roundabout way in trying to control the Naruto's world. Some agents were able to sneak away from the ninjas when they trained with them and managed to establish communication with the feudal lords of every country. Every partial dimension was under the control of their respective kijis and the country's feudal lords. After Hydra was able to contact the country's lords, it was easier for Hydra to enter their dimension. Hydra tried their best in explaining their motives to the lords. At first the lords hesitated quite a bit as the plans laid down by Hydra were dangerous. What they wanted was to disrupt the hidden village's lifeline by cutting their supply lines and denying proper compensation to the hidden villages. Hydra knew that convincing the lords and even execution of the plan would take a lot of time. But at the end they were successful in convincing. Hydra said that with only proper control of the hidden villages, the feudal lords would be able to have absolute power over the hidden villages. Daniel Whitehall, one of the old Hydra heads, spearheaded this plan. He was a mad scientist who belonged to the era of Red Skull, and due to experiments on inhumans, particularly Jiang, he was able to maintain his age. Pierce didn't have much hope of Daniel's plan of controlling Naruto's world because he understood the most basic concept, and that is only power reigned supreme. Pierce let Daniel do whatever he wanted because Daniel was an old guy, and if anything bad happened he could always pin it on him and wash his hands away. This slow process of denying proper supply to the hidden villages by the feudal lords worked well. Every hidden village depended on their respective countries for its survival and daily life. If a major disruption occurred, it would be a huge loss for the villages. The kijis didn't understand sudden changes in the behavior of the lords but accepted the demands of the lords, gritting their teeth. The lords were happy to see this change in the behavior of kijis. After this, Whitehall finally managed to have a meeting with all the feudal lords together, as he needed a face-to-face approach in trying to convince the lords. Whitehall flew all of the lords to his secret base. My agents have already laid out the plans for you all to see. I called you all to show a glimpse of my future plan. Really? Show us what you plan to do. I am curious about how do you want to control the hidden villages? A mountain that none of us could cross, said the Lord of Fire Country. During the training with the ninjas we were able to sneak away a poison that was very harmful for the ninjas. By using science from our world we were able to recreate the poison, and now we can mass produce it, both in gaseous and liquid form. After we test the poison on ninjas we will be able to kill the ninjas and do experiments on them. Maybe we all can have so-called chakra inside our body and be powerful like them. Even if the experiment fails we will still be able to kill the ninjas. Are you sure that the poison will work? We will be needing a live test for that, Lord of the Wind Country said. Yes. All we need to do is to experiment on it on a live ninja. Any country can register a mercenary operation and we can sneak a poison in a gaseous form on their bodies. If it fails, the agents responsible can commit suicide and he will die but never get caught. All the lords contemplated on it and finally decided that they could try this plan, but they had to make sure that this poison would never be used on them. We can accept your plan, but on the condition that you give us an antidote and a proper knowledge of all the uses of other poisons in your society. This is non-negotiable, said one of the lords. Whitehall accepted this without batting an eyelid. He didn't really care about these lords, as he could always catch these lords and brainwash them and use them for Hydra itself. Whitehall was ecstatic as he finally got the permission to work on his plans. At least he will get a body and would be able to experiment on this so-called chakra. He was looking forward to it. Finally, on a mercenary operation which was registered by the Lord of Wind, which was led by a single Chunin ninja, Hydra was able to ambush and release the gaseous form of the poison in the surroundings of the ninja. What happened next scared even the Hydra agents. The body of the ninja wilted away in a rapid pace, and at the end even the bones of the ninja weren't left. The Hydra agents were really scared, as they didn't expect the poison to be so potent. They sent the recording of Whitehall. When Whitehall received the recording, he was pretty sad. The gory nature of the video didn't really affect him. But what did affect him was the loss of the body to be experimented upon. Even though he was sad, he knew he had been successful in devising a plan to counter ninjas. Now all he needed was to administer the poison onto the Kijis and kill them. As long as he could kill them, he would have won half the war. All the high levels of Hydra were notified of the video, and they were surprised to see it. They didn't really expect Whitehall, a mad scientist, would figure out such a poison and a cruel plan for the ninjas. Pierce was really happy about it. The World Council had approved of the Insight project after the New York War, and the work was being done faster than it should have been in the original story. Due to the immense danger shown by a small platoon of aliens and having a Naruto's world nearby, the governments were really scared, and they really wanted a weapon that could protect them, at least that could filter out hidden dangers. The governments and the World Council approved of the Insight project to be launched as fast as possible. Even though the ninjas didn't really show themselves in New York, S.H.I.E.L.D. managed to get some videos of the ninjas saving people, and the speed the ninjas had shown in the war was a huge wake-up call for many of them. Many governments had doubts about the legitimacy of the Naruto world, but after watching them in action, it made them fear, as the ninjas were basically assassins and could kill any politician whenever necessary. OA had not shown any aggression, but one day the Guardians might feel that Earth wasn't good enough and might send the Lanterns. The governments didn't really have any countermeasures against the Lanterns, but the Insight project could be called the Earth's first step against any kind of alien invasion. Loki had managed to infiltrate Earth because there was no proper defense against such beings, but now they would have one and stop the problem in its root in the future. Whitehall asked for full support from all the high levels of Hydra in executing the plan. Everybody gave approval apart from Wolfgang von Strucker, as he was busy with the new toy that he had received and he wanted to make enhanced people and experiment more with it. He was more interested in the scepter than trying to control the Naruto world. Whitehall again called for a meeting with the Lords, as he wanted to make a clean plan for taking all the Kijis out of the picture and appoint new ones under the control of Hydra. Whitehall had even planned to kill the Lords if they didn't accept his plans. Due to the antidote provided by Hydra, the personal security ninjas of Lords were on the safe side, but Whitehall felt that Hydra could always use missiles to kill them. While the Lords felt that with their personal security, they could always assassinate anyone they wished, as the actual power of normal humans were negligible in front of ninjas. Both of them thought they had a jump on each other. Finally a day was decided for the meeting. The videos had already been sent to the Lords. They were very happy to see such high efficiency of the poison. So the poison works. How do you plan to administer it on the Kijis? Said the Lord of Earth. Call for the 5 Kijis meeting in the name of easing the recent confrontation between you all and them. Take the antidote with you when you enter the meeting and we will kill them. Said Whitehall. Good, but before the plan starts you need to finish off John. He knows too much from all the universe and probably has an idea about you all. Finish him off. Said the Lord of Fire. And after executing the Kijis, we need to have a full-fledged meeting with all the heads of your organization and discuss the subsequent plans about handling the ninjas later. Said the Lord of Lightning. The Lords wanted to kill all the high levels at the next meeting to tie the loose ends. Sure. Whitehall said with a smile as he had plans to use another toxic poison that is derived from the previous poison, which was extremely lethal. Even though they wouldn't kill the ninjas, it was enough to incapacitate them. After the meeting, Whitehall called Pierce to help him kill John. Pierce hesitated for a bit as they don't have much information on John. He might have people protecting him in secret and it might backfire. At the end, Pierce decided on taking a risk. Even if the assassination fails, they would at least expose the secrets of John. Pierce decided to take this gamble. This would be their first step in taking control of Earth, and the Insight Project would be the last nail in the coffin. Naruto and all the Kijis were having a huge headache recently. The villages were basically starved of resources. Only Derue had a relief for some time, as him helping in the New York War had earned him quite a bit of resources from S.H.I.E.L.D., but it was only a stopgap measure. But today finally all the Kijis got a call for attending the 5 Kij Summit in the Land of Fire. They all finally saw a ray of hope as they could discuss it out with the Lords and find out the reason of the recent change in behavior of the Lords. They all traveled to Japan, as now all the Kijis have their own Quinjets provided as gifts by S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. too knew of their Kij meeting, but Nick Fury didn't interfere in it. They all reached their meeting room and greeted each other. Soon the Lords arrived in person and everybody sat in their respective places. Fire Daimyo, I want to know, has there been any grievances between the Hidden Leaf Village and you? I don't remember us doing anything bad for the country. Naruto spoke the moment everybody sat down. Ho ho. No Hokage. It's all been good. It's just that the country hasn't been very productive this year. This is the reason that the resources are scarce. I believe it will be over soon. Derue and others didn't believe it and immediately retorted, and soon there was a commotion between the Lords and the Kijis. A blue mist appeared in the room in a matter of a sec. Before the Kijis could react, the blue mist covered the entire hall. The Kijis watched in horror as their bodies just melted away while the Lords were absolutely fine and smiling at them. In a minute nothing remained except a few slag. Whitehall had checked the slag from the previous one of the ninja that he had experimented upon, but it turned out to be just human decomposition with no value whatsoever. After about 10 minutes a Quinjet landed near the meeting room. Out came Whitehall and some agents. They entered the room only to see the slag from the death of Kijis. He was ecstatic as he saw his plan coming to fruition. Actually Whitehall had doubts too. It was fine that the Kijis were dead, but 2 Kijis had tailed beasts inside their bodies. Is the poison so strong that it destroyed the bodies of tailed beasts too? Is this all an act by the Kijis and the Lords to catch us? Even though Whitehall had doubts, he still insisted on this path as there was no turning back at this point. If Hydra manages to kill John, then it would mean that they are in the right track. As long as John dies, it would be a huge victory for Hydra. Whitehall looked at the Lords as they covered their noses from the smell of slags after human decomposition. They were fine as they had antidotes. He just smiled wickedly at them and said, "The Kijis are no more. You can declare this on their villages tomorrow. We will carry out the assassination of John soon. In a week time all the high levels of Hydra will come together and discuss our future plans. Hope you all would be there." "Yes. We will definitely be there," said a Lord as he too smiled at Whitehall. They both knew that the end meeting would be an all-out war and it would determine which world controlled which. By now the Lords knew most about Hydra and their plans for world dominance. Like others, the Lords too wanted more power by controlling this new world after dismantling Hydra and taking over them. New York. John had woken up like every other day. But he was all alone as Emma had gone away for training in OA. John didn't want to disturb her training, so he didn't contact her. John went to the Disney headquarters in NY with Bumblebee like always. During lunch, like always, he went to the roof for having his food in tranquility while watching videos. John always loved watching something while eating, it was one of his habit. As he was eating peacefully, a sniper from far away pointed the long muzzle of a Soviet-made gun. He had a metal left arm and wore a mask with heavy shades on his eyes. He took deep breaths as he pointed the gun's aim at John's head. After a minute or so, when John was eating his food leisurely, the sniper took the shot. The bullet went straight to his head. John's head blasted like a watermelon being bombed inside. Nothing remained. The body without a head couldn't sit straight for a second more and fell down. The bullet's impact was so huge that all the people downstairs heard it. The people downstairs knew something was wrong, and many made a run upstairs as their chairman was having his lunch at the roof. When the people came to see what had happened, the ladies screamed in top of their lungs, and even the men who came almost vomited out whatever they had in their stomach. This was a horrible scene to watch, as blood was splashed all over the place and a body without a head was bleeding in the floor. That's it, guys. Hope you like the video. This is the ending of Season 1 and Season 2 will be on my channel soon. Like, share and subscribe the channel. And also tell me in the comment section down below if you have any recommendation. Thanks for watching.